Hey guys, this is Kane315 and I'm back at it with another video for you guys, and this is another Flash Season 6 review. Sorry for this video going up super late if you're just checking this out. You can also see the different setup. I'm back in California only for this Tuesday. I'm here for spring break, so obviously I'm back at home, and that's the new setup. So if you guys are wondering why the heck are I in this setting instead of my dormitory, that's why. Other than that, let's get into this episode of The Flash because this episode was great tonight. So, anyways, this is episode 14 of season 6, and I think it's titled "The Death of the Speed Force" or something like that. So the episode starts off with these Russian people in a helicopter, and the helicopter basically malfunctions and it starts falling down, and it looked like it's going to crash. Then all of a sudden, Kid Flash shows up and he saves the day. Now he does some kind of move that, like, he does some move where I guess he was moving so fast he made like a doppelgangers of himself, where it, like, helped break apart the helicopter. It was actually a really cool scene. So yeah, but yeah, and he shows up way before Barry even shows up. So it cuts after that scene's over. They kind of hug and give a nice little dab, and then it cuts to the next scene, and you see Wally making this lotus flower with his lightning, his speed powers, and it's pretty cool. Now it focuses on the one time we see Iris and Eva, and essentially they're looking through the mirror and they're seeing like Wally West, and Iris is talking about how she wishes she was there because she doesn't really see Wally all the time and stuff like that. And then Eva starts talking, and essentially, she says that Joseph, her husband, tried to get her out of the mirror but never could. And she speaks on how, she hasn't touched him in like 32 months. And then all of a sudden she starts freaking out and she's like, blah, 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 blah. And then the fake Iris, you see the fake Iris look. All of a sudden she starts freaking out. And the fake Iris, like, is just pouring, like, I guess, wine in this cup. And it's not stopping. Camilla had to stop her, like, yo, are you alright? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. So obviously, like we said, we all know Eva's true intentions. She's not good. She's playing Iris. When Iris finds that out, who knows when, but obviously, things are happening. That was the last time we saw Eva and Iris for this episode because they focused more on Wally and Barry, and that was really it for that. In that same party, they were having celebration for Wally coming home. Cisco does return in this episode, like I predicted. He was only gonna be gone for like 2 3 episodes, and he's back in this episode. It was a funny joke because what is it? He thought, oh, they were throwing a party for him because he was home, but then when he sees Wally, he was like, oh, that's why you said welcome home. Okay. Anyways, after the party's over and everyone's gone home, Barry and Wally, decide to clean up the place. So when Barry, is running around cleaning, he suddenly comes to a stop and falls down. And then, Wally says to him, like, yo, you good? What's wrong? What happened? And then he remembers, like, past events, like, in the first episode after Crisis, when he was with Diggle on Leon Yu, and so his hands started freaking out and stuff like that, and how he goes back, I think, a few episodes where he's saying he was, like, all sore and stuff like that. Then Wally's talks to Barry, and he's saying he needed to talk to him, and he's saying, like, he didn't just come back to have a good time and say hello to family and stuff like that. He came back because he said he felt a disturbance in the Speed Force, and he wanted to talk to Barry about it. Now, in this discussion, Barry doesn't believe that there's something wrong with the Speed Force and stuff like that. And essentially, Wally's like, but there's got to be something wrong because, things are going on. All of a sudden, they get transported into the Speed Force. And, well, actually, before that, so it cuts to Jitters, and then this green field starts activating. It was with the Russian person. The Russian girl, I think her name was Maria, was looking around, and all of a sudden everyone stopped in time. And I'm like, okay, what the heck's going on? Then this person in a green hood comes up, stops time, grabs the girl, and we find out she, like, ages her centuries and stuff like that. Now, you know, we do, like I said, we do get the revelation that this villain can stop time and essentially make people age like literally into the future. And Cisco calls her essentially Turtle 2. So she's like Turtle with a little bit of an upgrade. So obviously she's Turtle 2. I forgot her real life name. I'm just gonna call her Turtle 2 because stuff like that. And it was crazy because I was watching this episode with my sister, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna call this person Turtle 2 because I don't even know this person's name. They said her real name like I think 2 or 3 times this episode, and I'm like, dude, I can't even. I didn't even catch the name. So yeah. Anyways, it cuts back to Star Labs, and Nash is asking Cisco since he's back if he's seen anybody from a different Earth. And then all of a sudden, that happens, and they start arguing yet again, and they get into another hissy fit. So they obviously left off where, they went before Cisco even left. So, anyways, Iris and Wally were talking, they were talking about Barry and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Camilla comes in and takes a picture of them too, and he's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, that's a nice picture of you too." And then Wally asks, like, "Yo, yeah, send me that picture actually." But then, the fake Iris is like, "Delete that image now." Now we later find out the reason why at the end of the episode, but she's like, "Delete it," and Camilla's like, "Okay, I'll delete it." Now Camilla ends up deleting the picture. Anyways, like I said, it goes back to CCPD. Barry's just working on something, and Wally comes up to him and asks him like, what's going on? What happened between you and the Speed Force? And then Barry tells Wally that he attacked the Speed Force from way back in the first part of the season when Bloodworks infected his mind and stuff like that. Then essentially they both get transported to the Speed Force, and then they see the Speed Force, in the face of Barry's mom. They see Barry's mom in a bed, essentially like literally gasping for air and then essentially the Speed Force says like, "Yo, I'm dying," and and it tells Barry like, "I'm dying because you attacked me," and stuff like that, and essentially we find out essentially it's because blood works. Now Barry doesn't believe that the Speed Force is dying, and this is after they get back, and essentially Wally starts blaming Barry, and they get into a whole argument. Well, Barry doesn't fire back, but Wally gets really heated, and because he's like, I saw like so many things. I went to the Speed Force, talked to it. I saw endless timelines, endless different possibilities of, my kids having Speed Force powers, running with their kids. And he even brings up the fact to Barry is like, "Yo, I saw Nora." And that gets Barry like, "Oh crap, I really messed this up." Yeah, so essentially, Wally just walks out in frustration. And the crazy thing about Wally is we know Wally now to be cool, calm, and collected. This was like, he was actually getting pretty heated a few parts in this episode. So, anyways, cuts back to Star Labs. Barry gets the little tachyon device, I think it is, on his chest, and he enters the Speed Force. And he tries to tell the Speed Force what to do to essentially try to save the Speed Force. But the Speed Force tells him it's too late. We're already too gone and stuff like that. And essentially, the Speed Force says, it wasn't because of you attacking us back in the Bloodwork arc. It was because, when you got the, power substance from Oliver's Spectra, it entered the Speed Force and essentially messed it up as some kind of like disease, essentially. And so this is another, result. I'm sorry, you guys, if you're hearing that in the background. That is my younger brother screaming like a dang banshee. But other than that, I'm gonna move. Actually, hold on a second. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I had to tell my little brother to calm down a bit because obviously you guys probably heard him in the background. I didn't want to continue making the video with you guys hearing him, but yes, my brother is pretty loud. That's the only one default to going back at home and making videos. You have to put up with that stuff. But anyways, like I said, this goes back to another result of a negative effect because of Crisis. Now, because of Oliver essentially giving him, you know, Barry some powers to tap into the Speed Force at that time, essentially it kind of results as a negative thing. It's a good way to tie and a good way to give a good reason to why the Speed Force is dying. Now, so obviously this doesn't make it obviously makes it feel as if, Barry wasn't, because he attacked it back in the Blood Wars arc, it made it feel like, oh, he's not entirely responsible. He had no choice to do it because it was, saving the universe, essentially. Anyways, in this scene, the Speed Force eventually dies. So when I was first watching this episode, I'm like, wait, so do Wally and Barry still have their powers? But it's later revealed in the episode, the more they keep using their powers, the less speed they'll get, which means they'll essentially run out of their Speed Force powers and they won't be the Flashes anymore. So essentially, and that's when Joe was talking to Wally. And, this was actually a really good scene, from both of them because Wally is literally still freaking out. He's super pissed off at Barry. And then Joe talks to him and he tells him, like, yo, I remember when I first met you, you were being arrogant, you weren't trying to listen to me, you wouldn't want a sister or a father, and stuff like that. And then you turned into a lovely, compassionate kid and stuff like that, and you really worked hard these last couple of years. And essentially, Joe was telling him, like, look, don't turn into that person again who you first became. Be who you were when you changed. Don't be the person, the Wally West, when you first showed up here in Central City, because, stuff like that. Now, he has to go. Joe later leaves because of the, whole meta thing, and he says, let's talk later. So essentially, it cuts back to Star Labs, and Caitlin and Cisco talk a bit, and essentially, Cisco is, like, still feeling like, he hasn't gotten anywhere. He feels like he's still at the same place before he even left. And essentially, Caitlin was like, look, you kind of pushed off Nash when he needs your help, and then you didn't even come to your friend to help you with this thing to help you and stuff like that. And essentially, Caitlin convinces him to help Nash and, help her to get help with his thing and stuff like that. Now, going to Nash I don't know where, but he goes somewhere. And essentially, there's a show, he looks back, and he sees the red eyes, and then this thing comes at him. Later find out, Eobard Thawne took over his body. Now, it cuts back to Star Labs in the little vault area, and, Barry tells Wally the real reason why the Speed Force dies, and Wally later apologizes to Barry for lashing out because he says, I would have done the same thing if I was given the chance to, so, it's not your fault and stuff like that. Now, Turtle 2 eventually goes to CCPD and gets a hold of Joe and holds him captive and stuff like that. And then this cuts to what, and when, Barry and Wally are trying to figure out what to do, Caitlin's like, yeah, Cisco's over here doing this thing, helping out Nash. So essentially, Nash walks into the room where Cisco's at, and essentially, Nash is talking like Wells is talking like the Wells we all love and know. Well, Eobard Wells. And he's like, with a deep voice where he's like, hey, Cisco. That type of thing. And essentially, he attacks Cisco, and Cisco puts two and two together, and he says, like, wait, you're a Thawne, because Thawne tries to do the whole vibrating thing where he vibrates his hand, and then he sticks it in freaking Cisco's chest. I swear, for the longest time, every time they have Eobard Thawne and Cisco, they always do that callback, especially if it's in Wells' body. They always do that callback from season 1 when he first killed him in that alternate timeline that Barry changed. They always keep going back to it. It's still funny. I just find it more funny because I'm like, dude, they always hint at, like, he's gonna, one day, Eobard Thawne's gonna get Cisco with the freaking vibrating hand. One of these days, they might have to fix that, but he never does. So anyways, he tries doing that. And then he tries doing that. His hand's not vibrating, but he sticks his hand on Cisco's chest, and Cisco's like, huh? And then Eobard's like, and he's trying to hit his chest. Now, when I was first watching this, I'm like, wait, the Speed Force isn't a thing, so he's maybe he lost his speed too. But then we get the revelation because Nash's body has not tapped into the Speed Force. He don't have his powers. So essentially, we have a powerless Eobard Thawne in a Wells's body. Cecile later comes in and then tases, I guess Eobard now. I'm gonna call him Eobard now. So obviously, yeah. Now, Barry and Wally, they eventually save Joe and take care of Turtle 2. And yeah. So essentially, they fix that issue. Cisco calls in Barry. And essentially, Barry sees Thawne in Nash's body. Now, my goodness, I'm just gonna say this. This got really freaking dark when Eobard was talking. He was up against a freaking, little glass wall, you know, jail cell, and he was like, "When I get out of here, I'm going to slit your throat." I was like, oh, you're like, when did you get so violent? And then he's like, when I get out of here, and then he's like, after I do that, then I'm gonna kill your family, all of them, and then I'm gonna kill your friends. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, first things first. Eobard, and every time you've come back, why haven't you not done that? Why haven't you slit Barry's throat? Why haven't you killed any of his friends every time you've come back? I'm like, I'm like, okay, so now you're making legit threats now. Now you're gonna say you're gonna start killing people. Okay, but in all the other times you've come back in the past seasons, you had your chances to do it, you just didn't do it. You know, stuff like that. He also does mention to Barry that he knows that the Speed Force is dead and that he's slowly losing his powers. And he's like, yeah, when I get out of here, which I will get out of here, I'll get you. And it's like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, keep making fake threats you can't keep. It's like from Batman Arkham Asylum when Joker was saying, "Don't make promises you can't keep, bats." Eobard always says some stuff and he gets away with it. You know, he wanted to slit Barry's throat. Why didn't he do it when he was messing around with Nora? Okay, yeah. Anyways, Wally leaves. Wally ends up, at the end of the episode, he leaves up. He ends up leaving Central City. Him and Joe have a talk and stuff like that. And yeah, so Wally won't be coming back for next week's episode, sadly. I think this was like a one-time thing where the actor of Wally West was gonna come back. He'll probably make an appearance again, obviously, especially when Barry, I guess, finds out how to get their speed back and stuff like that, or get their powers back full time. Essentially, but before Wally leaves, he tells Joe, like, yo, make sure you keep an eye on Iris. And that's the fake Iris, because we all know the fake Iris has some attitude swings and stuff like that. Because Wally's like, yeah, she's kind of been acting kind of different or something like that. Now, Barry, at the end of the episode, Barry gets the idea when talking to Cisco and Caitlin, because he tells him, like, the whole deal about him losing his powers eventually. He also does tell Iris, the fake Iris later on. And the fake Iris is like, well, maybe it's time that now you're getting ready. It's now just, maybe it's a sign that now you can get to live the normal life you always wanted to live. So, yeah, anyways, he tells Cisco and Caitlin, and essentially, he gets the idea because he gets the idea from Eobard of the fact that Eobard made his own Speed Force, which is a negative Speed Force, to have, his Speed Force powers. He comes with the idea of making a Speed Force, an artificial Speed Force, so he can keep his powers. So that's what's going to be, I guess, the focus of next week's episode, because that's what we saw in the next episode preview at the end of the episode. So obviously, it's looking like Barry is going to try to make an artificial Speed Force. Now, the post-credit scene, we get the fact it's late at night and Camilla's, about to leave the citizen work area. And essentially, she has the camera. She pulls up the camera, and the deleted picture that she thought she deleted hasn't been deleted. And she's like, wait, I thought I deleted this. So anyway, she ends up deleting it. And then all of a sudden, the picture changes. And all of a sudden, you see the fake Iris turned into a mirrored image or something. She's like, wait, what the heck is that? All of a sudden, the door opens and then fake Iris is there, and she's like, and Camilla's like, oh, what are you doing here? And then the fake Iris is like, well, you see, and I see, I knew you were gonna find out eventually, but I can't let you go. Essentially, being a little tattletale. And essentially she's like, sorry I had to do this, but my secret now, so got to get rid of you. Essentially, she uses the mirror gun on Camilla, and Camilla, yeah, um, I'm guessing goes into the mirror world. I forgot what happens when you shoot someone with the mirror gun. I forgot what happens with that because I think that was from last season. It's been so long, I forgot. But I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, obviously Team Flash is gonna know that she's gone. Cisco's obviously gonna know, like, yo, where's Camilla? I haven't seen her. I've been trying to text her, call her. She's not. And I think slowly but surely they're gonna probably ask Iris, like, yo, what the heck's going on here? Eventually, they're gonna eventually have to get the cat out of the bag soon because, the season's wrapping up. Next week, we're at episode 15. So when they'll reveal, the fake Iris being secretly evil, could be maybe episode 17 or 18. Who knows? Obviously, they're still keeping Iris in the mirror world a thing. I don't know when they're gonna make her escape, but obviously they're gonna have to. I'm not say rush it, but hurry up on making them find Team Flash finding out that this Iris ain't our Iris. What the heck did you do to her? But other than that, this episode was good. I liked it a lot, and next week's episode seems to be a very eventful one because Eobard's back. Now, in this episode, we don't get an explanation to why Eobard did not show up whatsoever in Crisis. And if you've seen my Crisis videos, you could see how nitpicky I was about that from the aspect. He wasn't even there, even though he hinted at it from the last crossover they did. But, yeah. Other than that, that's all I gotta say. So, for this episode of The Flash, if you like this video, leave a like. If there's a comment you want to put down, thinking about your episode, The Flash, and also if I guess you want to help out with the Camilla thing, to make it more easy to understand what happened to her, go ahead and put that in the comment section. Other than that, hit the subscribe button to get more Flash content and more of the CW TV show contents. I don't know when I'll be doing my Black Lightning season 3 review, but I will be doing that because this past season of season 3 of Black Lightning just ended literally just yesterday. So I'll be making a video for that. So keep looking on the channel to get my thoughts on Black Lightning if you haven't checked it out, or if you do watch Black Lightning, I mean, you wanted to get my thoughts on Black Lightning. I just didn't do a daily, week or weekly, review series of that. But yeah, that ended up pretty cool too. But other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day, night, or whenever you're checking out this video. Peace.